Hello and welcome, beautiful souls, to my channel, Light of Shaya. Thank you so much for being here. Welcome to those of you who are new. I hope you enjoy the content, and welcome to those of you who are returning. I want to say I appreciate every single one of you. So today I'm doing, I guess would be considered an urgent message from Spirit. So I was pulling some cards for myself, and I had a deep knowing that I had to share this message. I don't really understand it fully yet though, but it's very important. So the cards have already been pulled. We have the Queen of Cups at the bottom of the deck, right? So this is beautiful feminine energy, very expansive, very open in the heart, we can see here. But what's really interesting about this Queen of Cups is that it's like her heart is missing. And I haven't been posting as regularly because I have been going through my personal stuff, right? I think 2020 in general has been a very hard year for everyone, and that includes me as well. So I know I appear to be happy, and generally speaking I am, but I do go through struggles in my own way, right? And so I'm just being authentic here. And what's really interesting to me is that this Queen of Emotions seems empty-hearted. And personally, I've been having a very difficult time being attuned, which is one of the reasons why I haven't been able to bring you guys the amount of videos that I typically do, on top of the fact that I experienced a bit of burnout. And this reading really resonates with me, but there's something about it that is for the collective, and I don't quite understand it fully, but I'm going to share it with you anyway, okay? So I'm gonna go ahead and set the cards out here. I'm not going to be changing the video the way I usually do so you guys can see it. I'm just gonna see if I can explain it to you, because it is a really important message somehow. And I think this has to do something with December 21st, 2020, because this is supposed to be a portal. I can't remember what the astrology behind it, but this is, from what I understand, the true beginning of the age of Aquarius, right? So I just so happen to be a Sun sign Aquarius and a Venus sign Aquarius. So I feel like this probably has a large impact on individuals who do have Aquarius heavy in their chart. But there's something here about the age of Aquarius coming in. And this is the tough part. I can't seem to discern it. It's like, this is an intuitive reading. I'm not reading the cards the way I normally would as traditional. And this particular deck, I love it because of the imagery. But okay, so let's go ahead and get started. This is really exciting for me. There's like a lot of movement in this. So the first card we start off with here is the Four of Materials, right? So she seems to be kind of like stuck, right? You can kind of see how she's kind of holding her chest, and she seems to be kind of like lost in thought, and there's this sense of like yearning and confusion, right? I don't know why I'm getting that sense of like, it just doesn't feel, it's a very beautiful card, but it doesn't feel right, if that makes sense. There's something about this energy that just, it's almost like there's something being kind of like pulled out of you. For whoever this message is resonating for. There's like this pulling motion, right? And what's really interesting, this pulling motion, I want you guys to know in this particular card, the Nine of Voices, there seems to be that kind of like pulling energy. But in this case, the energy is now going from being pulled downwards to actually being moved upwards, right? And I'll get into this card in just a moment. But what's really interesting is we have the Wheel next, right? And usually the Wheel of Fortune is about divine timing. It's about rolling with the changes, right? It's about trying to stay in the center of the wheel. And by staying in the center of the wheel, you're capable of transitioning through change very easily, instead of being carried away by the wheel. The Wheel of Fortune can be, it's not destructive, that's not the right word that I'm trying to use, but it can be very discombobulating. It can really disorient you, because it can become very overwhelming. That's the word. There's like a sense of overwhelm when you're on the outside of the wheel, because you're not in control of the change, but you're resisting it, and so the wheel carries you away, right? And so what's really interesting is, at first I was like, okay, this is just the Wheel of Fortune. There's something about lunar cycles here, because the moon is heavily present in this particular card. So this might have to do something with like the lunar phases, maybe by the next full moon or new moon. I'm not entirely sure. But there's this sense I noticed next with the page of voices, right? And when I was reading this for myself, this felt very individual, but there was something about how the message started playing out that made me want to share it, because I wear glasses, right? And so I couldn't help but notice how she also wears glasses, and it's like she's watching something. She's watching a dance play out. And the reason why I say dance is because when I looked at her, for whatever reason, the song Just Dance by Lady Gaga came into my head. It was just like very interesting. I'm trying to remember the lyrics because, right, that's Spin That Record, right? Spin the Record kept coming through very strongly to me. Spin the Record and Just Dance, right? And so I, for whatever reason, saw this wheel as the record spinning. And so there's something about music. There's something about music here. Spin that record. And I can't help but notice, I don't know if you guys can see this, but in this particular card at the very top, there's a spinning motion. There's like this cyclical kind of like spinning of this record. And so there's something about music here and recording. It's like a music video. It's like a music video playing out, and this person is just sitting here watching the dance play out. Right? Because she's not dancing. This page of voices isn't dancing, but she's watching the individuals. There's 4 people dancing, and you can see 2 of them seem to be the same but mirror images, which is really interesting because I just noticed that. One's down here and one's up here, but they're mirror images of each other. And so there's this dance playing out, and there's 3 up top. There's 3 up top. There's 1 on the bottom. And it's really interesting because these 3 are like in the higher realms on the record, and there's this one on the bottom. They're in the earthly plane. Do you see how like this is a mountainous region? And so there's this whole sense of like somebody's grounded in the physicality of the world, but the mirror image here of this particular figure is up in the ethereal. And there's something about the combination of this. It's like you're watching a dance play out. And then, now the reason why I came up with December 21st, right, which is a very significant day from what I understand, we have this beautiful 3 of inspiration followed by the muse of emotions. And you can see the color correspondence between this. I'm sure you can kind of see that. They appear to have the same color. So I feel like this is a blending of these 2 cards somehow. But with the 3 of emotions, I want you to notice why I said 1221. There's 2 dominoes at the bottom there, and they're 1, 2, 2, 1. 1221, right? And I couldn't help but notice that this figure goes from the dance to being blown, because I'm seeing how her dress is kind of just being blown in the wind, and she's being pushed through this door. It's like a portal. It's like a portal, right? And from what I understand, 1221 of this year is supposed to be a portal. Now, then we come to the muse of emotions, right? And so, I don't know, I saw this as like a heart awakening. Maybe it's a collective heart awakening, because you can see the flow of the water in this particular card flowing out from these 2 figures. But what was really interesting is, when I turned it on its side, I couldn't help but notice how these 2 kind of connect. Like the hair, I don't know what it is. I'm just seeing like the hair connecting to the domino. I'm not sure if you guys can see that. The hair connecting to the domino, and then all of a sudden, this muse of emotions didn't look like a person. It looked like I don't know if you guys can see this, but it looks almost like a sea tortoise. Or like a sea turtle. Sea tortoise, good lord. A sea turtle. You can kind of see like the water are the fins, and these are its other legs, right? Because the fins on the top, you know, their front fins are bigger, and then there's this the smaller legs, their hind legs, right? Or flippers, whatever you would call it. And I couldn't help but notice this like combination. It was a really interesting message. And I also couldn't help but notice the drawing to the sea star, right? And this is an upright pentacle. It's an upright sea star. It's an upright pentagram. So there's something about like being in alignment, or right, because the pentagram, if it's upside down, it puts source, spirit, at the bottom, right? And remember how I was talking about the bottom? And note that there are 5 figures here. The 3 dancing up top, 1 on the bottom, and then the person observing. And so I don't know how that ties in exactly, but there's this sense of like, since the wheel is turning, right? The record is spinning. Now the star is in like the proper position. Maybe the stars are aligning. I'm not entirely sure. Like I said, I'm still kind of confused about this. But now, okay. So then we get to this 10 of emotions, this beautiful energy, right? And the 10 of emotions usually for me is like my heaven on earth card. And note the dance, as I was talking about. I feel like this is a collective dance connecting with source again. This opening heart, right? Remember how I was saying about the opening of the heart space with this particular card, how the love is flowing, and this drawing motion, it's like it's converging. I'm not sure if you guys can see those little strands converging into the center, right, of the record, maybe, because I can't help but notice that it does look kind of like the wheel here. And this wheel is in darkness. It's dark, right? There's like a sense of darkness, like maybe not knowing, because I've been struggling with that personally myself, of like the not knowing. It's like I believe like the void after the dark night of the soul, where it's dark. It's like you can't hear your typical guidance. It's like in one of my previous videos, like I said, an obstruction of source, and now the source is opening. Maybe this is a collective experience, even for those who are awakened, right? So then we come from here, and I notice these 10 people, right? The 10 people dancing, the collective, is now thirsty. There's like a sense of thirst for more, because we have this 10 of inspiration, right? And it's like, I see this person here holding that jug. And that's, for me, like the jug that Aquarius carries, because they divulge the waters of knowledge. It's like people are thirsty for information now, right? People are thirsty for information, and you see these I don't know, are these oxen? I think that's the plural, right? Oxen or oxes. I don't really know, but anyway, my point being is that you're divulging this information, or you're bringing this knowledge to people who are thirsty. Because note that she's in the desert, and it's completely arid there. There's just a sense of like the waters of knowledge have dried up, and now you're bringing it to people who are thirsty. Okay, so we have this 10 of inspiration. You're carrying this jug of information. Note the little sparkles coming out of the jug here. It's like spiritual knowledge. And now we get to this Ace of Materials and 9 of Voices, and there's just so much going on here. With the Ace of Materials, there's the record again. You see how like the circular, there's a record, but this time her eyes are closed. And I couldn't help but notice, if I turn the card this way, she's laying on her back, and she's like meditating, or maybe dreams. There's something maybe about dreams coming through, a sense of like inspiration maybe coming through while you're in your sleep. Because I can't help but notice like she's sleeping, kind of just like, you know, she's like in a deep, maybe even a deep trance-like state, right? And so then we move from this Ace of Materials, which is like a grounded energy, right? Because it's like physical, it's about time, things that have been invested in. And then we have this 9 of Voices, right? Which I was talking about earlier, how this like pulling motion from the 4 of Materials originally is now turning into this, where it's like, the energy is being pulled upwards now, right? Kind of like the pentagram, right? It's like a connection with source again. Usually the 9 of Swords, or the 9, in this case, the 9 of Voices, is about being too stuck in your head. Maybe a lot of you have been having sleepless nights and struggling sleeping because your thoughts have been overcoming you, or, I mean, this card is also a card that indicates Dark Night of the Soul, but then there's this beautiful flame. I see this kind of like Ace of Wands inspiration coming through, maybe in your dream state. And so if I turn her upside down, kind of, she's laying, for me, she appears to be almost like laying down, like asleep. And this message is like being pushed into her subconscious. It's like dream state, right? And I want you to notice here that there's also a person in the clouds here who's sleeping. and she's nude. It's like this sense of like purity or not innocence, but like, well, also innocence, of course, because she's in the kind of like the fetal position, and there's a sense of just honesty coming through here. It's like maybe honest communication from the higher realms, right? And now from here, I want you to notice the correspondence in colors between this Ace of Wands that I'm kind of calling it, and this figure here. At first I didn't notice it was her hair, but then afterwards I noticed it was her hair. But at first I couldn't help but notice this flame, kind of like the flame coming up to her imagination. Her imagination. Remember how I was saying like dream state? There's something about like reconnecting with dreams or like the angelic realm. And it's like astral projection. You guys may not be able to see this, but I see a face here like turning upwards. It's like this figure, except reversed, right? I'm not sure if you guys can see that. It's like astral projection of some sort. Maybe you've lost touch with your capabilities of like being able to connect with the divine on that level. And there's a sense of inspiration, of course, from the page of inspiration. And I was very, very drawn to the cats. There was something about the cats. One of them I just noticed now happens to be near her like pelvic area. And the other one is observing, like watching for what's coming next. It's like something's coming next. And the cat knows. I don't know what the significance of the cat is, but the cat knows. There's like, maybe it's your primal instincts trying to tell you. Maybe you've been seeing animals and the animals have been acting strange around you, or maybe you've been contacted, or like spirit has been sending animals your way to try and connect with you on a certain level. But you haven't really been paying attention. There's this whole like, I'm in a dream. Or like astral projecting or something, right? And then what I find fascinating is the cat is looking towards the Six of Voices. And usually the Six of Voices is about, moving on from difficult situations. And usually they're not easy transitions, because the card that comes before it is the Five of Swords, which is about manipulation and humiliation. And it's like your higher self. I'm seeing that what's really interesting is this page of inspiration, for me, appears to be... Alrighty, sorry about that, guys, but video cut out. Still trying to figure out the angle for the camera right now, because I was in such a tizzy, is that what it is? About getting this out. I just kind of lost it. But I was saying the page of inspiration here, as you can see, is coming through now as like a transformation to the higher self here. Because they seem like almost like one and the same. I can't help but notice there's something about the similarities in these two figures that make me think of like their similarity. There's something about a similarity here. And so it makes me think of like your higher self, like maybe trying to contact you through a dream state. The dream, right? While you're asleep. There might be something about like astral projection. And like I said, messages from the divine coming through in a dream state. And I can't help but notice this. I'm not sure if you guys will be able to see this, but there's like little dots here coming through from the top of the card, coming into this dreamlike energy, these clouds. And so what's really interesting here is that it's like your higher self here is pushing you forward. It's like you don't have a choice. But you're still holding on. It's like you're still holding on and like, I don't know, are you sure? I don't feel right about doing this. Should I go through with this? Should I take a chance on this? And your higher self is like, basically at some point, if you don't take the leap, I see it's like the hand is slowly like kind of moving towards you and saying like, okay, it's time to go, and then pushing you off in a sense, right? And you just keep on looking towards the horizon and the fall. Like, I don't know if I can take this leap. And what's really interesting here is that I also noticed the similarities or the correspondence here of these two similar, let's see if I can align these properly. circles. Yeah, I hope you guys can see that. Remember how I was talking about the emptiness in the heart? And now your higher self, for whatever reason, has that same thing here on their head, but they're adorning themselves with it. So maybe there's something about your higher self knowing why there's the lack inside here. There's something about your higher self knowing, and maybe that's why the leap of faith is being taken. And I can't help but notice, this is something that I noticed when I had to turn the video on again, or the camera on. For whatever, there's something about the cat. And you see the correspondence in the cat and the way the figure, which I presume is your 3D body, is looking in the same direction. It's like there's an inner knowing about something there, right? Cats are very perceptive. They can sense things and see things that we can't. They're hyper aware in comparison to ourselves. And it's like the cat knows. And what's really interesting is I noticed one of the cats is looking towards the past. It's like maybe a confusion about like the past and the future, right? And what's really interesting is this cat just so happens to be sitting, and the energy coming through it is coming from like the sacral chakra in this figure. And this cat has the crown chakra illuminated. So maybe there's something here about like sacred sexuality or sexual desire, maybe even. Because I did say the Ace of Wands at one point, right? With this. And then with the Ace of Materials, it's a very feminine energy, very receptive, right? Feminine energy is receptive by nature. And it's really fascinating to me. So it's like the more I dive into this, the more interesting it gets, because I start to see more of the correspondences here. These cards seem the same, but they're not. One of them is like the Four of Materials. This one here is like vanity or sadness. This one is peace. It's like at peace, sleeping. While the other one's awake, you can see her mouth is open, like slightly ajar. And it's like she's looking down, and there's this sense of like almost disappointment I'm feeling. There's like a sense of disappointment. Whereas this card here is more like, it is a little bit melancholy to me, but there is also a sense of peace in the like, maybe in the not knowing. And so this person is able to sleep, and in their sleep, they start to get these messages. And there's something about like the cosmos here. I love the artwork in this deck. There's something about the cosmos here, because notice how from this is like from day to night, and both of these figures they're adorned with the cosmos. Their clothing is made up of the cosmos. And so maybe, I don't know why I'm getting, it's like you're wearing spirituality, or you're wearing, I don't know why I'm getting almost like a sense of burden, like you're burdened by your clothing, or like you're burdened by your perception of the universe, or it's this really fascinating message that I can't seem to wrap my head around. But it's incredibly immense. Maybe there's something about like cycles. Maybe that's what the record is about. There's like this cycle that you can't seem to break free from. And maybe you're watching it, right, with the Page of Voices. Maybe you're seeing it clearly now. You're like, wait, why do I keep doing this? And you're like vividly watching it. You're like very attuned to what is happening in that moment, being very aware. And then there's this sense of like peace that comes from it. And now you're in the center of the wheel. That's what I'm seeing here. Now you're in the center of the wheel, because she's in the center of the spinning, right? This like spinning record, as I was saying. Maybe this is part of the spiritual knowledge that you're divulging, and you will receive a message in your dream state about this. And you're going to be confused about it maybe, or you're going to be like, why did I have this dream? And your higher self is just going to say, there's a reason for it. It's time to go. It's time for you to take that leap of faith. There's no more ifs, ands, or buts about it. And what's really interesting is I also noticed the similarity in this. Okay, so We have the sand dollars, and then I'm not entirely sure what these other circles are, but there's 4 of them, right? Her 2 earrings, and then these 4 here. And then in this particular card, there's 1, 2, 3, 4 rose petals, or not rose petals, but roses, right? And note how the main rose is at the top, like trying to come through once again in like a dream state where it's like, as I was saying, an obstruction of source, and I don't know why I'm perceiving that this has to do with the heart space, because it's like trying to come through the rose, right? The rose, which is associated with like romance, is like trying to come through, but because there's an emptiness in the heart space, you can't seem to find your way through it. Now, I was drawn to look at the bottom of the deck with the Queen of Emotions, and I kept seeing this card eye me. It was like trying to tell me something. And note again how I was saying this nudity. There's like a nudity here, right? Maybe there's something about like self-worth issues, or like something about sacred sexuality, like sexuality being an issue or something along those lines, right? Maybe it's a burden and you're like helping people. Maybe that's what the spiritual knowledge is about. You're helping people through these issues. Maybe self-worth issues regarding their physical body, maybe their sexual health. And the Hierophant is about traditions, right? The Hierophant is about traditions and morals. It's like religion, right? And for a very long time, and I know this also personally, I was raised Jehovah's Witness. And so sexuality was looked at as a sin when you did it outside of marriage. And in particular, me being a member of the LGBT community, it caused a lot of self-worth issues for me. So maybe that's a message for someone out there, maybe struggling with something like that, because there's a sense of nudity here. And note how gray this figure is. There's a sense of like gray. And I can't help but notice the similarity in this like gray color here too. It's like lifelessness. And what's really interesting now is that I see this as like your higher self has been trying to communicate something with you, and now you're looking at your higher self. You've taken the leap and you've come back. You've come back after the leap and you're looking at your higher self. And you're going to say something like, you were right. Like you were absolutely right about this. Because there's just a sense of deep knowing that comes from this figure here. There's a sense of deep knowing that comes from this figure. And you're looking up, wiser now. You go as this traveler, right? Because this traveler kind of reminds me of a cowboy, because they're wearing like a cowboy hat and cloak. And there's this sense of like, I've come back, I've gone through the travels, the weariness, and now I come back to myself. And you're looking up at your higher self here. And it's like, I know now. Now I know there's a deep knowing that I have. And now I want to like connect with you, or maybe I'm already connected with you. Maybe these 4 candles here, because I'm seeing these as candles. I'm not entirely sure if there are candles, but these candles here have been like signs that have been trying to get through to show you something. And you're going to come back all the wiser. I'm trying to see if I can pick up any more messages here, because there's a really interesting message. I don't even know if this is going to make sense for a lot of you, because this is very, this is like an extremely spiritual reading that seems kind of like all over the place, right? Kind of like this wheel coming through. It's like all over the place. Maybe this is a bunch of signs that have been trying to get through to you, and there's this sense of like feeling lost because you can't seem to like, they're not tangible. There's something like, it's like I see the signs here and there, but I can't make sense of them. I simply don't know what is going on. And so maybe you've been more confused about it, but I feel like maybe the portal of December 21st is going to help free you somehow, because it's like watching the dance, stepping through the portal, and then all of these significant changes happen in your life. I'm not sure if this reading is to be carried out into 2021, right? It might well be something that is happening over a span of weeks after the 21st of December. But there's just this deep sense of like, maybe there's just a cycle you can't break out of, and you can't seem to understand why you can't. And you've been trying to figure it out for the life of you. It's like, I'm trying to figure it out. I've been almost like, in a sense, bashing my head up against the wall, trying to like figure this out. And it's almost like you've been asking for divine guidance over and over and over and over again, and it just hasn't come through. And it's frustrated you so much. And so it's like, maybe Spirit is saying, you're not supposed to know the answers, or the reason that you should... This is really complicated. I'm like trying to align with what Spirit is trying to say, right? Because there's this whole thing about Just Dance, right? With the like, Just Dance. Maybe you guys should listen to that song by Lady Gaga. I don't remember all the lyrics to it, but it seems to be significant in some way. The Page of Voices also speaks about spying. Maybe you're watching multiple people through like tarot, or maybe multiple people are watching you through tarot. And because I don't get the sense of like spying in the traditional sense. Like, I'm not getting like a heavy stalker energy, like somebody's like outside of your door kind of thing. It's more like on the spiritual. Maybe it's a higher self kind of thing, right? Maybe your higher self is the one that's been watching the dance. And this has caused you a lot of confusion on the 3D. And so there's this like emptiness, right? As I was saying. And interestingly enough, the Hanged Muse or the Hanged Man is, I don't know, it's like more of these messages are trying to... This is probably going to be a lengthy reading for whoever this resonates for. It's like you're letting go, right? And I feel like this is happening. It's like you're falling into the void. Maybe you feel like you've fallen into some sort of void and you just can't simply escape it, right? But what's really beautiful is the cards that follow after that are beautiful. But I hope you guys can see that, how the Hanged Muse seems to be like falling into this void. And maybe that's what your higher self wants you to do. It's like, you need to experience this. You need to fall into this pit. You need to fall into this pit in order for you to like work your way out of it, or there's something about being like you need to get lost again. It's like a sense of like you've been stuck in the same thing over and over again. It's time to get lost. It's time for you to not know where the hell you're going. It's time for you to just let go completely and just trust that whatever comes after that, you'll know what to do, and it's going to make you all the wiser, right? Because here's the hermit walking off into the distance, right? And interestingly enough, once again, here's that desertous area, except it's in a different location, of course. This was like more the Saharan desert as opposed to like the Arizona desert, or like, you know, Colorado or something like that. It's like traveling around the world kind of thing, but not like in a I'm not getting in a physical way. It's more like in a experimental kind of way of like trying to experience your reality from a different point of view. And so maybe that's what the dance is about. And for whatever reason, December 21st is important for that, because it's like going to maybe free you from the previous cycle where your higher self maybe has been watching you in this dance, you know, of like this circular thing of like, you can't get out of this. You can't seem to get out of this. And then once this portal opens up, it's like things start to rush in collectively. Maybe this is a collective experience where people simply don't know what to do anymore. They're going to feel lost and confused. And for those of you who are like leaders with the Hierophant card here, maybe that's kind of like, maybe you're ahead of the curve somehow. And like you, obviously, for those of you who do tarot, you can see things that most people would not be aware of. And so your knowledge maybe is going to be incredibly important for the months to come, for the years to come. For a very long time, I'm feeling like this is something that is big. It's like massive. It's like I can kind of feel it. Like it's really, I can't get over the immensity of how important that is, and how maybe people are going to start turning to you. Maybe there's information that people are going to find out about, like here, like in the world, like something big, that people are going to be like, wait, what is going on? It's like maybe it's like a collective tower moment where people are suddenly very confused about what life is. It's like I get this deep sense of like confusion. I'm getting even fear from a lot of people. People are going to be scared because they're not going to know what's going on. And so a lot of you are already like, well, I already know. I feel like you guys who are watching are going to be helping people somehow move through this transition through this. And then here we have this beautiful energy of the Six of Inspiration, which is the Six of Wands. As I was saying, for whatever reason, my video cuts out at like 18 minutes. I don't know what the deal is with this camera, but as I was saying, I couldn't help but notice how this person is being watched by these individuals, and there's this sense of like you being a star, right? The star being up top of the crown. It's like you're divulging spiritual knowledge to people, and here's that circle again. It's like you're in the middle of the wheel. You're rolling with the changes, and people are turning to you for this information, right? And people are going to be watching you. It's like you're going to get attention because of this. There's a whole bunch of the message that got cut out, so I'm trying to like get back into where I was going with this. But this is a card of victory, and then we have this Chariot, which is another card of victory. And note how the solar plexus is open here. There's spiritual knowledge about maybe self-worth. And these people, or these horses, are being led by you. These strings are it's like you're pulling people along with you on this journey. And you're this like star, you're like a leader or a guide regarding this. You're like a leader or a guide regarding this. And what's really interesting is, while I was trying to catch up with where I had left off in the video, because I had to, unfortunately my camera doesn't let me go to a certain minute. I have to like go through it, so I had to stop to see where we were going in this message. And for whatever reason, I remembered more of the lyrics from Just Dance, and one of them, one lyric that came through very strongly was about so many beautiful women without a flaw, or something along those lines. Like I said, I don't remember the lyrics exactly, but there's something about physicality, like I said, sacred sexuality, right? Physicality. And then, for whatever reason, I remembered a song that one of my friends who passed away a while ago had shared with me, and I loved it. There was a particular dubstep remix that I really liked of the song, and I remember the artist's name was Natalia Kills. Some of you may or may not be aware of that particular artist, but she's very similar to Lady Gaga. And at least from what I recall, it's been years since I tapped into that. And what's really interesting is that my friend Tony contacted me not too long ago, and I remember he had burned a CD for me, and he had sent it to me. He lived in Ohio, and I live in California, so he sent me this particular thing, and that song came through very, very strongly. I believe it's called Mirrors. Natalia Kills Mirrors, maybe. There may be something in there for you guys if you want to listen to that song as well. But it's a song about sex again. Something about I'll make your love grenade explode. I'm trying to remember the lyrics right now. Hold on. There's something about candles. Remember how I was saying candles? There's something about candles in that song. And I can't help but notice the sexuality in this card, the nudity. And there are the candles. And she says, and the mirror is going to fall tonight at some point. I think it's a part of the chorus. tighten the handcuffs. It's a pretty sexual song. It's about tighten the handcuffs and the mirror is going to fall tonight. There's something about burning the candles. So there's something about, I can't help but get something very strongly about sexuality, maybe the illusion of sexuality. And what's really interesting is that a lot of my messages from Spirit previously had the temptation card in it, which is the devil energy. Remember how I was talking about the pentagram being upright, and if it's turned upside down, source is at the bottom, and fire and earth are at the top, which is about sexuality and the physicality of the real world. So maybe what you're doing is you're helping people through maybe sexual issues or something like that. Something about sexuality is coming through very strongly. I can't seem to shake this particular information. It's really interesting here is that I'm seeing these mountains again. There's something about arid. There's something about something being very arid and dried out, right? Look, note all these cards here have arid landscapes. All of these cards have arid landscapes and desertous areas. It's like desertous regions. There's something about like desert here. Like people are looking for this water. It's like they're looking for the waters of life. You know, it's like ambrosia or spiritual knowledge. I can't seem to shake that. It's like water right now is coming through regarding like spiritual knowledge being divulged to you, and you're leading these people along with you. So this could be soul tribe. In particular, one of the messages that I got a while back, most of you may not be familiar with this. If you're watching this, perhaps you'll know what I'm talking about, but there's a message for the 144,000. There's something about the 144,000 coming together for this next journey in life. It's like your leaders, and it's very important that, I mean, it's making me very emotional. There's a lot of emotion trying to come through. It's like a yearning and a sadness and like a longing for the connection, for this deep soul mission of like the collective. And the 144 are here to help heal the collective, to help lead them to their connection with Source again. And I kept, in my previous videos, there's this whole thing about an obstruction of Source. And it's really important that we understand that there's more to the physicality of life. We've been stuck in the physicality of life for far too long. Things have been done the same way for a very long time through the age of Capricorn, right? Or excuse me, the age of Pisces. There's something about Capricornian structures, though, that seems to be important here, because Capricorn is also associated with the devil, and at least in the tarot, right, which is about temptation, it's about structures, organizations, right, top to bottom. There's a whole like top to bottom, and I can't help but notice there have been pyramids appearing through this. In this case, the pyramid of light. I'm not sure if you guys can see the pyramid of light here. It's like Source is at the top of the pyramid, and it's like divulging the knowledge to people now. So there is no difference between the two. I'm seeing this really interesting correspondence in like the light coming from you as individuals. Like I said, this is probably a message for light workers. A lot of you watching this at this time may be a part of the 144,000. And I myself have been seeing the number 144 a lot these last couple months. It's just been stalking me isn't the right word. It's like it's just been following me everywhere. I'll open up my phone and the number 144 is there. So maybe that's a message for some of you out there. If you've been seeing that number, it's a call to action for you to kind of like, it's time to wake up. It's time to wake up. There's no more time to be wasted. And it's time for you to step into your power. It's time for you to realize your immensity again. This message is going to be quite long. This is going to be one of my longest videos by far. I know that for a fact right now, because there's something very important about what's coming through from Spirit right now. And I'm trying to I'm trying to get through this. Look at that. You have fresh new energy, the Ace of Emotions, and the Ace of Inspiration. There's that fire coming out from the third eye, right? And what's really interesting is like I'm getting that as like spiritual downloads. Look at that. There's the pyramid again. There's that pyramid. There's something about maybe people are going to realize something about the pyramids in Egypt or something. I don't know why the pyramid structure seems to be so important in this. There's another card that had pyramid structures. Look at this. There are the pyramids again, and there's the all-seeing eye coming from the pyramid. It's like I'm honestly being overwhelmed right now with just a lot of like, it's like I'm trying to channel this information, but it's so much that it just can't come all through me. It's like I only have a portion of the information. Other people like me will have pieces of the information that I don't, because of our individual unique souls. They have access to information that I don't. And so there's just something about this. And here's that wheel again. There's something about being in the center of the wheel, being in the center of change. It's like you're an illumination. You are a leader. You are important in that way. You're being divinely guided to teach people something. And those who are meant to know your truth will know it in time. And with the Ace of Emotions, I can't help but notice the sense of like sensuality in this card as well. It's like teaching, maybe it's about teaching people that sexuality isn't just physical in nature, but it's also emotional. It's a very highly spiritual practice. People have lost touch with what sex is, right? And what's really interesting is that after this particular message here, we have strength. And there's the pyramid again. And strength is the only card in the deck that can truly overcome the devil energy, because it's a very deep sense of like resolve and fortitude that we have inside of us as human beings. We can overcome any challenge in our life so long as we hold on to our inner resolve. And it's like this is being pulled out of you. And I mean, the chariot and the strength card are, strength is internal. This is an internal experience. The chariot, on the other hand, is external experience. It's like a combination of forces. What's really interesting is there was a message from Spirit not too long ago where the chariot and the strength card came out. They were like right next to each other. I think it was the chariot and the strength card. I can't remember. I'll see if I can like put the link in the description box if I can recall about what that message was about. But there's something about strength, inner strength and external strength, of being able to overcome emotions. Interesting how I said that. That's not what I intended to say. There's something about maybe there is something about overcoming emotion. Maybe you guys are very emotional beings, and so your emotions need some sort of tempering or alignment of sorts. I'm trying to like see if I can pick up more on that, but it doesn't seem to be coming through. It's like kind of cloudy. There's something about the arid regions. There's something about the deserts. There's something about the deserts, the depth of the emotions, the depths of the ocean coming through, and this depth of motion in the ocean is like an eternal thing. It's a fascinating message that I can't shake this message. I can't seem to get my head around it, but it's important in some way, shape, or form. And I'm getting the sense here, maybe this is the end of the message. I feel like something is going to be revealed to the collective. There's something going to be revealed to the collective, and I think it might be quite shocking and jarring for a lot of people. But it's like, maybe you guys will be surprised too, but since you're so ahead of the curve already, it's not going to impact you on the same level that it impacts other people, because you're already spiritually attuned, you're already awake, you already know. Maybe more people are going to be having out-of-body experiences. Interestingly enough, I'm getting the sense that this is your higher self too, leading. Maybe you're a leader for your soul tribe. Maybe you're a leader for your soul tribe, and you're actually drawing them in right now. And this portal of December 21st is when more of those souls are going to be maybe awakened, maybe they've been asleep, and they're going to find you somehow, you know, in probably a very serendipitous manner. And it's just going to be like, oh, I know what this is about somehow, you know. I've always, maybe deep down, I've always known this, and I've just been ignoring the call. And maybe that's what the emptiness for a lot of the people that are going through this is about, right? With the Queen of Emotions, the depth of emotion. But it's like, it's not present right now because they're not attuned with the higher realms yet. They're not attuned, they're not in proper and full alignment because they're stuck in the material realm, and they're thirsty. They're thirsty for this knowledge. And more of these people are having these heart awakenings. They're having spiritual experiences. I can't help but notice that. It's like a coming to source again, right? It's like release. You see how she's kind of like in a state of ecstasy or release? It's like, I'm being freed from something. It's like I'm being freed from this experience now. And I can see clearly now. It's like a sense of clarity coming through. And like I said, I keep getting the sense that you're likely like a spiritual leader or something. You're supposed to divulge information to people based off of your experiences. Note how in the background here, here's that pyramid again. In the far background there's a pyramid, but it's almost ethereal. And there's something here, maybe, I don't know if maybe something is going to be discovered collectively about the pyramids or something, or about the significance behind them. I mean, I'm already familiar with some of the significance of the pyramids and the Egyptians and why they built them. Maybe there's going to be something discovered along the way about, you know, the Native Americans and the pyramids of the Egyptians, and maybe like Greek culture, that's going to cause like a remembrance. I was going to say of sorts, but the word that came through in my head was of source, a remembrance of source. Remember how I was talking about an obstruction of source? Now it's like a remembrance. It's like the obstruction is being lifted now. The tower is being removed from the good tarot. I'm going to go ahead and show this to you guys right now. Here we are. Tower. See how it's like an obstruction? Because it's a fortress. It's a fortress, and this I'm getting the sense this is the material realm. The tower itself is like the material. And of course this is going to be broken away because this is like an obstruction of source. And what's fascinating to me is beneath that is the Ace of Fire, right? The spiritual download, the spiritual awakening. Below that was that of the Ten of Water, which is for me like the Ascended Masters pulling the strings, because I can't help but notice the Buddha here. Just kind of like, what it's like, and there's just such joy. I mean, look at his expression. There's like a sense of joy. It's like people are going to be rediscovering it, right? Ten of Emotions. People are going to be rediscovering it. What's really interesting now that I'm seeing this is, you see these little dots? I'm not sure if you guys can kind of see the dots that are connecting with the higher source there. Note the beads that the Buddha is holding. It's kind of like a convergence of souls coming together, right? There's here here are the strings again, the strings, higher realms doing this. And in the physical realm, because I'm getting, for whatever reason, this chariot is coming through as like higher self, very spiritual. Through that, here you have this. You're the star. You're like a guiding light for people. You're a guiding light to help people through this experience. So as I was saying, you guys are a guiding light for people to to help them through these issues. And what's really interesting is, as I was I had to catch up to see again where I'd left off, because there was more to the message that keeps getting blocked out. Maybe, like I said, there's a whole blocking of something. There's something about things being blocked. I started to think about the tower as the Tower of Babel, right? People trying to reach source physically, and the tower is falling. It's like that structure is being destroyed. I don't know if maybe there are people out there, people who have a lot of power in the real world, those who have been amassing maybe like wealth, like money, billionaires and stuff like that, who are like trying to strip people of their power by creating some form of illusion, and maybe this illusion is going to fall apart. It's like this illusion is finally being lifted. It's like the veil is being lifted. It's like you can kind of see that there was something more going on that we were simply not seeing happening behind the scenes. Right? And there's the whole message of like watching the dance. Right? Like I was saying, here's that darkness, the darkness from the wheel, and then we have the page of voices with the people dancing. So maybe the dance is the collective. It's like maybe somebody has been trying to pull the strings to try and mislead us, maybe, or to make us think things differently, that they're not what they appear to be. And then of course spirit, being spirit, is like saying this has gone on too long. There's no more of this. This simply cannot happen. I cannot allow, I wanted to say, my people to be misled the way they have been. And that's it. I was like, that's the end of that. It's like it's a definite ending to that old way of being. I mean, I want to note that a lot of people nowadays have been lost in the physicality of the world, right? Being unawakened souls. And I'm not saying that this is wrong in any sort of way. It's okay for us to experiment with our sexuality. It's okay for people to experience altered states of consciousness through using substances. I mean, it's okay for people to do that as sovereign beings, but something has been lost along the way. And so there's this whole sense of like, it's an illusion. It's like somebody has been pulling the strings all along, and it's not source. It's like something else, maybe malevolent in nature, like a trickster kind of. Maybe like darker beings are involved with this. What's really interesting is I had an encounter recently with a dark entity that I could not shake it. It would not leave me alone. There was even like poltergeist kind of stuff happening. My laptop, I bought a laptop in order for me to work a little more easily with my videos, and the cursor was just freaking out, and it would not leave me alone. I kept getting chills. My hairs were standing on end on my neck, and I kept getting like these goosebumps. And it's really interesting because sometimes when I stumble across important information, the goosebumps, like I get kind of like chills, but they're good. Like I'm like, oh, I'm in alignment. It's like my body is telling me. But in this case, it felt darker in nature. And regardless of how much I prayed, and regardless of how much I tried cleansing my space, it would not leave me alone. And so maybe, as I said, there might be other beings here who, they're a part of Source. There's no judgment needed to be made upon these beings. They're experiencing something very different from us, though, as beings of light. And for those of you who are not familiar with the law of one, I would suggest you looking into it. This was a channeling. I believe it was in the 70s. I don't remember a lot of the information, but I know, the Hermetic principles speak of duality, of light versus dark, although there is no verses. They're both one and the same. There's an amalgamation or like a combination of the thing, right? The whole yin and yang kind of thing. And so it's a misunderstanding of these energies. These energies are here to help us experience life on this plane. There's an experience of this, and so everything is being pushed towards a higher vibration. The darker parts of Source are being they're resisting the change, and so planet Earth in particular has been going through this experience as well. It's like a suppression. It's like a suppression and an oppression even of what is actually meant to happen. And I can't help but recall there's this whole sense of like there was a prophecy that was made by Thoth, the Egyptian god. There's that whole Egypt thing again. The Egyptian god Thoth, which was the god which had the head of a monkey at one point, and then he later became the a god with the head of the ibis. And I'm not too sure what the significance behind that is, but there's this whole like, he was the god of papyrus, and he was the only god associated with the moon, being drawn to the wheel here, the moon. And there was a whole prophecy where he said that mankind would forget their divinity. A lot of the spiritual knowledge that we once had, our ancestors once had, in particular from Egypt, was burned away in a fire of the Great Library of Alexandria, I believe. And in this was a massive amount of spiritual knowledge. And so it's like, once this happened, it was like that was a tower moment for those people at the time. But the repercussions have been reverberating through countless years. I don't know how long ago this was. I apologize. I'm not fully knowledgeable about how many years ago. It could have been millennia. And it's really interesting because these dominoes kind of are giving me that sense of like, kind of like the butterfly effect of like one experience or a certain experience had such an immense, it's like it was the flap of a butterfly wing in the drop. It was like a drop in time. One small event in comparison to time. It was a massive event for us as a species, but that event had far-reaching consequences to the point where things have been lost in time, due to time. And so it's like this portal that is being opened up. It is a remembrance, it's an emergence of this new way of life, a new way of understanding what this world is about. And once again, I just get the immensity behind it. It's like I'm getting a sense, it's like I can feel my immensity, I'm trying to communicate with you on a very deep level, and I feel it very personally, and there's something there that I can't quite touch or even understand at this point in time. I don't think I'm meant to, because I'm not ready for that yet. All of us are on our own individual journeys, and it's very important for us to recognize that nobody is more ahead or behind or anything like that. You're in the right place right now for a reason. But if you've been feeling a call, it's because the call it's like the trumpets are being, played by the angels. I'm getting a lot of like biblical, a feeling from the Bible right now. A lot of people have a misunderstanding of its importance. It's one of the reasons it has so much power. It's because it's one of the few things that was able to be saved by us as a species, as a connection with Source. And a lot of the people in the Bible, most of them, were light workers in some sense, right? And unfortunately, mankind being, imperfect in the sense that we're not always in alignment. We sometimes get drawn into things by the double energy, by temptation. And these people were just as human as we were. And of course, they had a very different way of viewing life back then than it is now. We've lived in completely different eras. And so there's this whole a misunderstanding of what the Bible is, what these sacred texts are here to teach us and to divulge to us. I feel like that message had to come out strongly because I think people have misunderstood the power of what that particular combination of books are. And a lot of it has, in a sense, been misinterpreted. We have been led astray because a lot of people take it as the utmost truth, and yet it's not entirely that. It's more. There's more hidden inside of it that people cannot touch because of the physical perspective of life. People forget that they're souls incarnate and that they have an importance in connection with Source. And this is I feel like that's part of the remembrance, is that more people through these awakenings are going to start realizing who they are. And I'm going on, I'm babbling here, but there's just this sense of like things aren't clear right now, but they will be in the months to come. And I feel like this message is for you because it's time to get ready. Those watching, just like myself, aren't ready for this undertaking quite yet, but we will be. And there's going to be a massive realization, I feel, for all of you who are watching now, of like what your importance in this world is, what you're meant to do. So I'm gonna go ahead and stop rambling here. I hope this message helped someone out there, or that this resonated for you. I myself am wondering what the heck this is all about. I'm being purely transparent here because I may be a leader of sorts, but I'm also human and I don't always have all the answers. But I know that I'm supposed to be here to help you guys too through your difficulties. And my channel has always been about spirituality first and foremost. It's not just about what future events are coming in your personal life. It's so much bigger than that. And I think in a sense I'd forgotten about this as well, because I myself have been stuck in a certain form or different forms of double energy. You know, we all experience this, and it's okay. And it's about being accepting of it and not trying to deny it, not trying to remove yourself from it. To do that only causes disharmony within the body. And so it's time to like realize that they're this beautiful thing where they're combined. They're one and the same in the sense that when they come into perfect harmony, it's easy. There's no resistance. It's like an observation. It's like watching it play out and understand that it's okay for you to divulge in it at times, because that's part of what this material realm is about. We can't deny that we're physical beings. We can't deny this physicality, you know, just like we can't deny our spirituality. And so it's this beautiful combination of forces. So anyway, I'm going to go ahead and end the reading here. As I said, I hope this resonated on some level. If it did, feel free to leave a comment down below. I'd greatly appreciate hearing from you guys to see if there's something here that touched you, if there's something here that makes sense to you, because I myself am trying to make sense of it as well. And that's pretty much it. That's all I have for you guys today. So I appreciate every single one of you, and as always, I am sending you so much love and so much light. Take care.